Good evening, folks. I'm NTV Chief Meteorologist Eddie Shear. It is now about 10:10 on our Saturday night. I was thinking about doing a Facebook Live to cover the incoming winter storm, but instead I figured a recording might be a little better because the information is going to be a little more concise. It's going to be shorter, so if you have questions, you can watch this and you'll know what to expect. Facebook Lives from 20, 30, 40 minutes. Kind of hard sometimes to find the information that you're looking for. So let's get right into it. Strong winter storm on the way in, going to arrive tomorrow midday, worst of it coming in tomorrow night into Monday morning. What we have going on out there right now, nothing much for the satellite and radar. A few flurries working their way offshore, but the weather is quieting down across Newfoundland and Labrador. Our neighbors to the south are already seeing some rain and snow back across areas of northern New England, southern Quebec, and working into the Maritimes. But the real meat and potatoes of our incoming weather maker is still back across the Maritimes. This is where the energy, or the northeastern U.S. rather, the Mid-Atlantic states, not the Maritimes. My apologies. This is where our area of low pressure is going to develop, at least initially overnight, and that's going to track from basically here to east of the Avalon Peninsula as we go through tomorrow night and Monday morning. And as that low does that, it's going to rapidly intensify, and that's going to help bring very heavy snowfall to areas of eastern Newfoundland from later tomorrow afternoon through tomorrow night into the early morning hours of our Monday. Ahead of the incoming weather maker, Environment Canada has a winter storm warning in effect for the Avalon Peninsula, Bonavista Peninsula, Clarenville area, and the Burin Peninsula. Now, I think this is a solid warning from Environment Canada. I have no real critiques about it. I think it's well warranted. I think all these areas are going to see winter storm conditions later tomorrow night into Monday morning. However, on the Avalon, I think we see blizzard conditions tomorrow night, and I actually think a blizzard may verify on parts of the Avalon tomorrow night. And I wouldn't be surprised if Environment Canada upgrades this winter storm warning on the Avalon to a blizzard warning. What is a blizzard warning, you ask? Well, here is basically what it says from Environment Canada so far as a blizzard warning is concerned. National, except north of tree line, so this is for Newfoundland, when winds of 40 kilometers an hour or greater are expected to cause widespread reductions in visibility to 400 meters or less due to blowing snow in combination with falling snow for at least 4 hours. And I do think there's a really high chance of that happening for parts of the Avalon tomorrow evening and tomorrow night, as winds are going to be gusting 80, 100 kilometers per hour, sustained well over 40. So I think good chance of a blizzard verifying on the Avalon tomorrow night. So again, wouldn't be surprised if this winter storm warning goes to a blizzard warning at some point shortly by Environment Canada, either later tonight or at some point during the day tomorrow. So as far as the storm timeline is concerned, the area affected, eastern Newfoundland, particularly on the Avalon, that's where the worst of the snow and the highest of the wind speeds are going to be found. Now, areas just to the west, you're going to see significant snowfall, you're going to see high winds, just not quite as high winds, and the snow's not going to be quite as much. Once we are towards central and western Newfoundland, impact from this going to be quite muted, if you will, especially along the west coast where hardly any snow at all is going to fall from this area of low pressure. So far as the arrival of it goes, the snow arrives late morning or early afternoon on Sunday. The worst of it, those winds begin to ramp up, snow rates begin to increase, will be Sunday late in the afternoon through Sunday night, and winding down early Monday morning, 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock, and the snow is pretty well done with by noon on Monday. And so far as those wind speeds go, northerly gusts of 80 to 100 for parts of eastern Newfoundland, especially for coastal areas Sunday night on the Avalon. Again, that's when I think the blizzard may verify. It would be Sunday night. So here's Futurecast. This is when we can expect the arrival of the snow. So if you want to know when it's going to arrive in your area, you have to know where you are on the map and check out the time there next to where it says clouds and precip type. So this is your hour-by-hour forecast of the arrival time, departure time, and when we are going to see the heaviest of the snow. So here's Futurecast. Here we go. It looks like by noon tomorrow, that snow is just edging on to southern areas of the Avalon Peninsula. And sometimes when it comes to that initial burst of snow, when it gets going, it's a little earlier than what you see here on the forecast. So it could start between 10 and 11 o'clock for southern areas of the island. It looks like by 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that snow has moved into the Avalon and Burin Peninsulas, working toward the Clarenville area by 5 p.m. tomorrow night. As we get into 9-10 o'clock tomorrow night, that snow begins its push north and back to the west. So the Bonavista Vista Peninsula, back through the Terra Nova area, back through the Canagua region, seeing the snow as well by then. Notice the darker blues indicating the potential for heavier snowfall. There we have the green, that is the rain. That purple line, that is the rain-snow line. The numbers on here are the forecast wind gusts by 9 p.m. tomorrow night. By 9 p.m. tomorrow night, areas of the southern shore, Cape Race, Cape Pine, around Trepassey, will also be seeing the snow mixing with ice pellets and freezing rain and or some rain. So accumulation there going to be a little bit less than areas farther north. As we get into midnight tomorrow night, that low is southeast to Cape Race. This is a really good track for heavy snow for northern areas of the Avalon Peninsula. So the forecast for midnight tomorrow night, heavy snow across the Avalon Peninsula, moderate to heavy snowfall for the Burin Peninsula back to the Bonavista Vista Peninsula, and west of there, lighter snowfall. Winds tomorrow night, midnight, gusting 84 St. John's, 88 Bonavista Vista. Watch what happens by 3 a.m. as that low is very close to the Avalon. That's when we see those highest wind speeds. That's when it's going to be the stormiest tomorrow night. Winds in St. John's, potentially gusting 101. 105 in Bonavista Vista, 73 in Clarenville, 89 Placentia, 75 Marystown. So we're talking about areas of blowing and drifting snow tomorrow night. Exposed roadways, Burin Peninsula Highway, once we're south of like Swift Current, Terrenceville, the Witless Bay line. These roads may very well become impassable tomorrow night. So if you don't have to travel, do not travel tomorrow night, because I do think we are going to have blizzard conditions. I'm not an alarmist. I'm not trying to play the big bad wolf. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm passing along what I think is factual, potentially life-saving information for some of you that may have to travel tomorrow night. Don't. I think it's going to be really, really bad. The last time I saw a storm like this was in 2016 in April, and it was the worst snow and highest winds I've ever seen. I mean, we were on the Outer Ring Road. I wasn't driving. I was a passenger, and you could barely see in front of the hood of the car. That's what I think happens tomorrow night across portions of eastern Newfoundland, as that low is very close by. It looks like after we move through 4, 5, 6 o'clock Monday morning, the heaviest snow begins to pull away. You can see the darker blue there moving off of the Avalon, but it's still snowing 6 o'clock Monday morning, just a little bit lighter. Winds are still very gusty, and it looks like once we get past 8, 9 o'clock, the wind speeds begin to calm down, the snow ends. But we will be dealing with areas of blowing and drifting snow through the day Monday as temperatures fall behind the low, as those winds are going to be from the north as we go into tomorrow night and Monday. And temperatures are going to fall during the day Monday to -4, -5 from near freezing tomorrow and tomorrow night. So again, the blowing and drifting snow going to be an issue as we go through Monday, and there's going to be a lot of it in some areas. How much are we talking about? Well, here we go. Here's the forecast snowfall. I made this forecast earlier this evening based on the latest computer model guidance. This is the most accurate. My best educated guess on snowfall right now, and my confidence on this is pretty high. So far as the Avalon North goes back through Holyrood, much of the southern shore, and the metro northeast Avalon, 35 to 50 centimeters of snow. If we're going to see that 50 plus, I think it's going to be toward the northeast Avalon, St. John's, Mount Pearl, Paradise, those areas like that. Areas right on the water, Portergrave, CBS, Holyrood, probably going to be toward the lower end of that spectrum. Elevated areas, probably going to be toward the higher end of that spectrum. So we'll keep an eye on it, but I do think totals 50 centimeters are possible. Wouldn't be surprised if some areas see more than 50, 55, maybe even 60 centimeters, 2 feet of snow. It's not an impossibility with this storm moving through. Areas along the southern Avalon, from Cape Race to Cape Pine around Trepassey Bay, 15 to 25 centimeters, and with that will come some ice pellets and rain, which is why the snowfall forecast is cut down there. As we get inland a bit, up towards the top of St. Mary's Bay, the Cape Shore, Southwest Avalon, the Isthmus, Bonavista Vista Peninsula, Clarenville, Burin Peninsula, 20 to 40 centimeters of snow for you. And then once we are west of there, it looks like less than 15 centimeters of snow is going to fall with this system. And then once we are back west of the Gander, Appleton area, less than 5 centimeters will fall along the south coast. And once we're back toward the west coast, less than 5 could be really nothing at all. And the other could be nothing at all. Now, something else I want to talk about real quickly is essentially like, how confident am I that this forecast is going to pan out? Well, this is the ensemble forecast. I've shared this with you several times now on the NTV Evening News Hour. And this is one computer model. It's run 50 times. It's called the EPS model. And you run it once, and then you run it again, but you tweak the formula that runs the model a little bit. And you do that 50 times, and you see where you have agreement. And as you can see here, tomorrow afternoon, remarkable agreement on where that low is going to be placed within, the width of, let's say, the northern half of Nova Scotia. But where it is, kind of latitudinally, is the agreement is really good. As we go into tomorrow night, and it looks like early Monday morning when that low is making its pass, again, agreement is pretty good. A little bit of disagreement on speed, and there might be two lows at this point east of the Avalon. This one kind of giving its energy over to a low in this area here. Either way, the location is really well defined. So there's not a lot of variance in the track of this area of low pressure. Now, something to note, though, there are a few lows, L's here on this map, that are a little closer to the Avalon Peninsula. And so let's say the low track's a little farther north and west than I'm currently thinking. What would that do to the forecast, especially for the Northeast Avalon? Well, it would push that heavier snow band up toward the Avalon north, and amounts would be probably closer to 25 or 30 centimeters for the Northeast Avalon if the low takes a slightly farther north and west track. And what do I mean by that? Well, here is the GFS model showing moisture in the atmosphere, basically in the mid-levels of the atmosphere. So where you see green here, lots of moisture, likely snowing north of the low to some extent. Not in all areas, but in the areas we were just mentioning. As we get into tomorrow, tomorrow evening, the low is going to be closest to the Avalon. Now, around lows, you get what's called some dry air mixing in. That's called the dry slot. And as of now, it looks like the dry slot, for the most part, is going to remain just east of the Avalon, perhaps scraping the southern shore. Once you get into the dry slot, your snow kind of eases off a little bit. You might get a bit of drizzle, and your amounts are going to be cut down because in the time there is expected precipitation to fall. When you get under that dry slot, you're not getting it, so your amounts are obviously going to be less than forecast. If this low takes a little farther north track, we're going to get into that across Northeast Avalon, so amounts are going to be a little lower. The one I'm currently thinking in areas just north and west will get into that heavy snow band. Will it happen? I'm not sure. Is it a possibility? Yes, it is. Is it something I'm going to watch tomorrow and tomorrow night? For sure. Either way, though, even if that happens, we're still talking about a very significant snow event, regardless of essentially these little nuances in the forecast and forecast track. So I've gone on for a while now, I think about 10, 15 minutes or so. But one thing I want to leave you with before I say goodnight is this. Keep in mind, this is a forecast, and forecasts can change or be wrong. This is a best guess prediction of the future. What I also want you to know is this. I'll be just as upset as you if I get it wrong, because I hate getting the forecast wrong, but I'm not delusional. I know what happens. We'll see if it happens this time, but my confidence on my forecast being correct is pretty high right now based on everything I'm looking at tonight. Well, I'll have updates for you as always on social media going forward, and Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You can find me there, Instagram, all that good stuff. And also, I'll be on the NTV Sunday Evening News Hour tomorrow night with the latest on the storm, and I'll be tracking it there as well. So I'll see you in all those spaces tomorrow. Until then, have a great night, stay safe, and I'll have a little bit of a text blurb with this as well, so be sure to read that, because lots of information I'm sure a lot of you want to know in regard to the timing and everything like that. So anyway, stay safe and stay tuned for updates as we move into the day on Sunday and Sunday night.